We begin with unrest in Afghanistan. Police there say at least 14 people are dead and more than 37 wounded after a nearly 10-hour-long attack at the American University of Afghanistan in Kabul Thursday. More than 700 staff and students were rescued after they were trapped inside the university complex. Police say at least 2 of the attackers were killed. U.S. advisors assisted Afghan troops in responding to the attack. This was not the first incident at that compound. Earlier this month, an American professor and his Australian colleague were kidnapped at that school. And joining us now to talk about the latest round of violence there via Skype from Islamabad, VOA Pakistan Bureau Chief Ayesha Tanzeem joins us. And joining me right here in Washington, we have VOA Pashtun Service Chief Ibrahim Nasar. Ayesha, how are you? I'm going to start with you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Glad to have you. How did this attack unfold, Ayesha? Do we know how many stormed that building? How they got inside even?
Yes, so far, what we know so far is that there were 3 attackers. They started with a car bomb. So the first attacker blasted the outer perimeter of the campus with a car bomb. The explosion, of course, took down the wall. The other 2, and it also killed the guy in the car. The other 2 attackers then stormed the building, went inside. They first went towards, there was a mosque for females in the university, fired on that, and then they started going after students. And from that point on, it was mayhem, and students and staff just started running. Fortunately, the university had been holding security drills, so students had some idea which way to go and where the nearest exits were and how they could get out of the campus. So a lot of students were able to escape.
Ayesha, my understanding is that this is a heavily fortified complex, but the fact that 3 men managed to get inside there with weapons, does that suggest to us perhaps that we need to rethink security measures for that compound?
Well, not just that compound, all of Kabul. This wasn't the first deadly attack in Kabul. And in fact, during the last 2 months, there have been several really bad attacks. If you remember, a month before this, there was one on the Shiite Hazara minority that killed 80 people. So yes, the security in Kabul, even though when you go to Kabul, you see heavily fortified buildings, you see army Humvees driving around on streets and men with guns, but obviously there's still room for people to come in with explosives and with guns, and that needs to be plugged. That hole needs to be plugged very, very quickly.
Ibrahim, this has been a big story for your service. What is the latest behind this attack? Has anyone claimed responsibility yet?
No, Taliban haven't claimed responsibility, neither has ISIS. I mean, these are the 2 big groups. I mean, Taliban are divided between different groups, the Quetta Shura and the Haqqani network. Fingers are pointed towards them, but they have not taken responsibility. Actually, the Voice of America yesterday contacted Taliban spokesman Zabiullah Mujahid if they would take responsibility for the attack. He said they are not decided. They are still thinking and deciding. They will let the media know if they would like to take responsibility.
What is the thinking behind deciding whether or not we should claim responsibility?
I think there are 2 things. I mean, they always take responsibility for anything that looks and sounds American. So this is American University of Afghanistan. They would like to take responsibility at the same time that innocent students who are killed. So they cannot take responsibility. Sometimes if they are not responsible for attack, but if somebody else does attack something that sounds American, they would like to take responsibility and take credit for that.
That's a really
But this is, I guess, a dilemma for them. So even if they carried out attack, there's so many innocent people who are killed there, so they're silent on it.
And Ayesha, to Ibrahim's point, this was certainly an attack against Western elements that appear to be taking root, at least in Kabul. Education for men and women, for example, especially at a school called American University, no less.
This had been a high-value target for a long time. Anything that has to do with foreigners in Afghanistan is a high-value target right now. And anything that has the name American next to it literally has a red dot on it. So you're right. This university was a high-value target, and Kabul police and the security forces knew it very well. Even now, they've pointed out that other buildings, other facilities around the city are still targets. So we're not off the hook yet.
Ibrahim, from just my casual observation, most of the attacks that I've heard of typically happen in the provinces to the north or to the south of Kabul. The fact that they are actually increasingly attacking Kabul, what does that tell you? Does that tell you that they believe perhaps that Kabul is vulnerable?
Well, as Ayesha pointed, I mean, it's not the first time that Kabul has been attacked. I mean, several
but they have no hope of holding it.
But exactly. But there's a difference between attacks that happen in the provinces and attacks that happen in Kabul. In Kabul, they carry out suicide attack just for the sake of murders and killing people and terrorizing people. Outside Kabul, they like to capture districts and provinces. I mean, last year, they even succeeded holding the provincial capital of Kunduz for a week. And this year they have been trying to take over the provincial capital of Helmand, Lashkargah. Yeah. Right now, as we speak, fighting continues in several districts around Lashkargah, and U.S. forces are involved to secure those districts and the provincial capital.
But the Taliban, they tend to have a little bit more success in those provincial areas. They can actually control populations in cities.
Yes, exactly. And towns, right? I mean, they go and they take over districts, but they are pushed back by the Afghan security forces with the help of the American and NATO forces, but they come back. So they get very close to some of the provincial capitals, particularly in Kunduz and Helmand. So during the last couple of years, they have tried many times, and they've captured districts, and they are pushed back, and they come back, but they cannot. And Afghan securities have not actually succeeded in cleaning the areas from them for a long time.
Ayesha, I only have a minute left, but what, so I want to segue a little bit. While all this is going on, there also seems to be some growing tension in the borders between Afghanistan and Pakistan. There was a flag burning at Babidosti, I guess Freedom Gate. What can you tell us about that?
Well, that happened last Thursday, so now here we are almost more than a week ago, and the gate is still closed. Last Friday, Pakistan decided to close the gate. As you said, there were violent protests on both sides, but the ones on the Afghan side, they pelted stones on the Pakistani border checkpost, broke some mirrors, and then they burnt the flag. And what Pakistan wants is that it's demanding an apology from Afghan government, and it's saying that Afghan government needs to assure them that such an incident will not happen again. Afghanistan's ambassador to Pakistan has called it a condemnable act, but obviously the two sides still need to resolve their diplomatic differences, because this is costing traders thousands of dollars a day. By now, they've probably lost hundreds of thousands of dollars in that 1 week. So, and it's impacting the local economy on both sides, because on Pakistan sides, they depend a lot on fresh fruits that are imported from Afghanistan, and on the Afghan side, they depend a lot on the transit trade that happens from this side.
And I was just going to touch on that whole aspect of its impact to the economy, but I suspect that that's something you guys are covering with Pashtun Service.
The impact, we see, we talk to local people. In fact, we have seen, trucks coming from Afghanistan, particularly with grapes. They've been staying in for the last 1 week, and they cannot stay more than 1 week.
And that's hurting a lot of people.
It's a huge loss to the economy there, the local people, as Ayesha said.
Thank you so much, Ibrahim, and thank you, Ayesha. We're going to take a short break right now, but when we come back, the U.S. Vice President travels to Turkey, and Ankara launches a military operation against Islamic State militants in Syria. This is the Correspondents on Voice of America.